With the war that began with Russia's invasion of Ukraine on February 24, 2022, all eyes are on the Alaska summit for one of the most important milestones. Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin will meet on Friday, August 15th, in the 49th state of the United States. With just hours to go before the summit, which will take place at the Elmendorf-Richardson Joint Air Base in Anchorage under the auspices of the U.S. military, the international media's intense preparations are drawing attention. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will not be attending the meeting. Ahead of the Alaska summit, President Trump said there was a 25% chance that the meeting would fail. Listing his expectations for the meeting to Fox News, Trump said, "My only wish is to be able to set the table for the next meeting," hinting at a summit with Zelensky. Russian President Putin has long argued that the conditions for a meeting with Zelensky are not yet right. Speaking on Thursday, Trump said the next meeting could happen quickly. Here's a more detailed look at what the two leaders are hoping to achieve at the meeting. How did the U.S. buy Alaska from Russia? Putin is seeking international recognition, and more. Russia editor Steve Rosenberg writes, "The first thing Putin wants from this summit is something he has already achieved. That is a declaration of acceptance. He wants the world's most powerful country, the U.S., to acknowledge that Western efforts to isolate the Russian leader have failed. The fact that this high-level meeting is taking place and that the Kremlin has announced a joint press conference is proof of this. The Kremlin can claim that Russia is back at the top table of global politics." The Russian tabloid Moskovsky Komsomolets ran the headline, "Isolation is over," earlier this week. Putin not only succeeded in securing the U.S.-Russia summit, but also chose the perfect location for it. The fact that the summit is taking place in Alaska offers the Kremlin many advantages. Firstly, security. The closest point between Alaska and the Russian mainland is only 90 kilometers away. This allows Vladimir Putin to reach the summit without flying over enemy countries. Second, Alaska is very far from Ukraine and Europe. This aligns with the Kremlin's goal of bypassing Kiev and EU leaders to engage directly with the United States. The location also holds historical symbolism. The Russian economy is under pressure. The budget deficit is growing, and revenues from oil and natural gas exports are falling. If economic problems force Putin to end the war, the Kremlin may seek a compromise. There are no signs of this yet. Russian officials continue to insist that Russia has the initiative on the front lines. Trump is looking for an opportunity to continue his peace claim, North America correspondent Anthony Zerker wrote. Donald Trump famously claimed during his 2024 presidential campaign that ending the war in Ukraine would be easy and that he could do it in a matter of days. This promise continues to cast a shadow over him, amid expressions of disappointment targeting both capitals. In February, he lectured Zelensky in a dramatic meeting in the Oval Office. He then temporarily suspended military aid and intelligence sharing with the war-torn country. In recent months, he has targeted Putin's intransigence and attacks on civilian targets. He set a series of deadlines for new sanctions against countries with economic ties to Russia. Last Friday was the deadline. And as with all previous deadlines, Trump ultimately backed down from the sanctions. Now he is hosting the Russian president on American soil and talking about a land swap that would leave Kiev facing concerns about territorial concessions. Any discussion of what Trump wants from his meeting with Putin on Friday is clouded by his indecisive statements and actions. Trump made a conscious effort throughout the week to lower expectations for this meeting. This may also signify an acknowledgement that the likelihood of progress is low, given that only one of the warring parties is at the table. In a statement on Monday, he said the summit would be a test of intent meeting. He claimed he would know, probably within the first 2 minutes, whether he could reach an agreement with the Russian leader. "I could go in and say, 'Good luck,' and that would be the end of it," he added. Trump is using the madman theory to change the world. The sale of Alaska by Tsarist Russia to the United States in the 19th century is being used to legitimize Moscow's attempts to forcibly change borders in the 21st century. Moskovsky Komsomolets also referenced this history, writing, "Alaska is a clear example of how state borders can change and ownership of vast territories can shift. However, Putin wants more than just international recognition and symbols. Putin wants victory. He aims to hold on to all the territory he has seized and occupied in 4 regions of Ukraine: Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson. He insists that Kiev withdraw from the parts of these regions that are still under Ukrainian control. Ukraine finds this unacceptable. President Volodymyr Zelensky says, Ukrainians will not give their land to the invaders. The Kremlin knows this too. It is possible that Trump is calculating that if he supports Russia's territorial demands and Ukraine rejects them, he will cut off all support to Kiev. However, Russia and the U.S. may continue to strengthen their relations and develop economic cooperation. But there is another scenario. On Tuesday, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt reinforced this message, describing the summit as a mutual listening session. When it comes to Trump, expecting the unexpected is often the right thing to do. Zelensky and European leaders met with Trump en masse on Wednesday to prevent him from making a deal with Putin that Ukraine would not accept or could not accept. However, one thing has been clear for almost the entire year. Trump wants to be the man who ends the war. In his final inaugural address, he said that the political legacy he would be most proud of was being a peace envoy. It's no secret that he wants the Nobel Peace Prize. Trump is not someone who gets bogged down in details. However, if an opportunity arises to claim progress toward peace during the Anchorage talks, he will seize it. Putin, always a skilled negotiator, may seek a way to ensure that Trump does just that, of course, on Russia's terms.